Vision for transition, integrating with our agriculture. Just like to share a little bit of visioning with you, thinking about what the plants can do for us in terms of making our homes and communities more sustainable. I believe that if we integrate with our agriculture, which means if we grow food close to home and grow food for our own communities rather than expecting farmers to grow food for us, then we can move very quickly towards a much more sustainable situation. So here's the 33-acre mixed-use organic farm where I used to live. There was 8 houses there, some larger than others, several tiny houses, and a couple of large family farmhouses. And there were about 15 people who lived there, although the population would go up in the summer when we had interns and volunteers. So there were lots of different uses for this farm, lots of different types of plants growing. There was fruit trees and nut trees, around 900 trees in total. There were medicinal herb gardens. There were vegetable gardens, and then there are also large unused areas of the farm. Now, by unused area, I don't mean that it was cultivated for Zone 5 and a wildlife sanctuary. I mean it was just large fallow areas that sort of went to waste and often would have junk piled up in them or have problems with soil erosion because it was just too much land for the 15 of us who lived there to keep up with. Now, if you were to juxtapose a city or a section of a city that was the same size as that 33-acre farm onto that piece of land, and you were to carve out some areas to be reserved for agriculture, then you would end up with something that looks like this. So you still have the houses and vegetable gardens and fruit trees and shared greenhouse and bamboo and firewood crops that you had on the 33-acre organic farm, but you also have lots and lots of housing and schools and places for shared food processing and seed storage, and you have enough people to tend the land. So the same amount of land ends up housing 150 people and growing food for everybody who lives there, as well as producing energy and self-educating and all the things that come with living in a village. So much of this work happens through the plants. If you have a look again at the list, so much of this work is plant related. And we always say permaculture is not just gardening, but it still always comes back to the plants. The shared orchards and parks and playgrounds and the nut grove and the meditation sanctuary, all of these are made possible by the plants and by the people interacting with the plants and using the plants as a bridge to build connections with each other. So my example here is based on a real town where I used to live, in a real neighborhood that I'm very familiar with. Now, I used to live here, right here, and I used to have a community garden space here, and I helped with a lot of these projects around here. So the vision that I showed you, this is a fantasy based on a partial reality, which is this little section of this neighborhood where we really had something going. So on the big map, this is what it looked like. So let's zoom in on that. These are some neighbors that have different types of orientation in their yard, and they've decided to share. So they grow certain kinds of veggies on the north side of the street and certain kind of veggies on the south side of the street. Their children play in the playground together, and they take turns doing childcare. They share power because they generate so much electricity with the people with the big roofs generate so much electricity that they share the power with the people who don't have the well-oriented solar roofs. So there's really amazing community happening in this tiny neighborhood. And I share this with you to inspire you in hopes that you someday will work toward this type of environment for your community. And the way into that is through the plants. So that's the end of my little vision, and I hope you have a great day.